So, you've been doing portrait photography for some time now, but you're afraid that your work looks quite similar and boring. You want to switch it up, but you don't know how to. In today's video, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why your portrait photography might be quite boring and how to change that. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, my name is Joe, welcome to The Genius of Joe. And today, we'll be discussing 3 reasons why your portrait photography is boring and how to change that. Before we start, if you're a struggling or new photographer and you want advice to get better, you can now book one-on-one calls with me through my website. In the call, this includes me critiquing your best work. So you send me some of your best work and I'll critique it and I'll give you advice on how to get better. Any photography advice, how to boost your productivity, and just a fun chat with me, and it's anything else you want to talk about. So if you're interested, click the top link in the description where all you need to do is fill out a little small form and I'll get back to you in the same day. Anyway, let's jump straight into it. The first reason why your photography is boring, it's lighting. Your lighting is just boring. You don't take risks. You don't allow yourself to experiment with different lighting techniques. You use the same lighting techniques every time. You have a cob light or strobe with a softbox as your key, you have a fill light, and then maybe you have a backlight. That's you every time, and you wonder why your photos look the same. The one way to make your lighting stand out is to use different lighting techniques. I know that sounds obvious, but you need to get into the mind of a cinematographer. Think about the message you want to convey when you take the photos of the model. You don't have to evenly lit your model every time you shoot them. Do you want to go for something more dramatic? Do you want to use a hard lighting with some negative fill to create more shadow, which in turn will create more depth within your photos? Do you want to backlight your subject with harsh lighting to create a glow behind them? Do you want to silhouette them, make it look mysterious? There is a lot of techniques that you could use. You just need to think outside the box. Now, I know it's easy to stick to a universal lighting setup every time, but if you're watching this video, you're probably due to switch it up. Now, there's a time and place to do more dramatic lighting. So obviously I'm not trying to say that you should, for example, do split lighting just for the sake of it. But like I just said earlier, you need to have in mind the message that you want to convey and apply that in your lighting. That is what will make your work stand out, is when you have a meaning behind your work and there's intention behind it. You're not just doing that lighting technique because it's worked for you and it looks good. Look, here's a simple 2-light setup that I use on a lot of my shoots that is a great in-between between the more dramatic lighting and that more high-key traditional look. As you can see, it's as simple as one soft key light on a higher angle to create that more Rembrandt lighting. Rembrandt lighting is the triangle around the cheek, complemented with a harsh backlight to create that glow around your subject, which will separate them from the background. Use this on your next photo shoot and watch how your photos transform for the better. Those abs, bro. See that shit? Yeah. Bulking season though, mate. Bulking. Now on to the second reason why your photography is boring, and that's outfits. Now, if you don't shoot in a studio, the last tip probably didn't apply to you, but this rule definitely will. I've discussed this in another video in far greater detail, which I'll pop up on the screen now. You only take photos of people with boring basic outfits, and you wonder why your photos are boring and basic. They wear basic streetwear like hoodies and jeans, and it just looks bland. What makes an outfit unique, you may ask? Anything that you just wouldn't usually see out in public. Is there a time period you want to show off? Is there a certain character from a film that you want the model to dress like? Or is it as simple as just them dressing smartly for a certain occasion? Not many photographers think about this when they take photos of their models, but they don't realize that this could be more important than your camera skills and lighting. Also with this, you can be very experimental with your poses, as now they're wearing quite different outfits. They can interact with them in completely different ways. When you compare it to, for example, like a hoodie, what can you really do with a hoodie? You put your hands in your pockets and like you cross your shoulders, that's really it. But if they're wearing, let's say, this really fancy suit, they can unbutton their shirt, play with their cufflinks, they can play with their watch, look at the watch, have sunglasses on. There's a lot of different options there. Also, out of all 3 of these, I think this is the most fun to experiment with. Like, who wouldn't want to shoot a model dressing like a World War II soldier? These will just make your experience as a photographer much more fun and bring that spark back into your photography passion. Last but not least, the third reason why your photography is boring is location. You pick the same locations every time. If you don't have access to a studio or you just don't like them, you're stuck with locations that you cannot tailor or change at all. You go to the same graffiti wall in your city where every tourist goes and it's the biggest landmark in your city or even country, and you wonder why your photos look the same to other photographers who go to the same locations. One piece of advice I got a couple of years ago, which mainly applies to film, but it can also apply to photography, is shooting a location where it doesn't look like a real location. What do I mean by this? No, it doesn't mean shooting in a location that literally doesn't exist, like heaven or something. It means shooting in a location that people wouldn't recognize and wouldn't think existed before looking at your photo. Too many photographers go to the same handful of locations in their city, which inevitably will make all their photos look the same. There is a place in my city, I live in Birmingham, UK, and there's one place in my city which I think I just have like this pet peeve for, and it's Digbuff. Too many photographers shoot in this location. I've shot in this location quite a lot too, but every time I see a photo shoot getting done in Digbuff, it just like, drives me crazy. And it's like, this place is so overdone that if you take photos in this location, you just look the same. All your photos look the same. So I just don't understand it, man. If you have control over the location you want to shoot in and you pick Digbuff, or if you're in a different city and you pick a place that is kind of popular like Digbuff is in Birmingham, don't complain your photos look boring. Like, what are you doing? Find an obscure location where no one has ever retaken any professional photos there before. If you're not going to apply the other two rules, at least apply this one. Granted, this is definitely the hardest step out of the three to apply, because now you have to scout your whole city for obscure locations, and it could be quite difficult to get there compared to your other typical locations that you shoot in. But the payoff is worth it. Also, think of the location similar to the outfits on the model. The model can interact with a location in completely different ways that you wouldn't be able to do with your typical locations. Implementing this will make your work look much more diverse and unique, and make you look like a more creative photographer compared to those bot photographers who just take photos for money and they go to the same locations every time because they don't want to take risks. Anyway guys, that is it for the video. Thank you for watching. Hope you found this helpful. Comment down below, which of the 3 reasons are you most guilty of and which were you most interested in? I hope you apply any of those 3 tips. It doesn't have to be all 3, it could be one of them, it could be 2 of them, or it could be all 3. Also, if you're interested in booking a one-on-one call with me and becoming a much more creative photographer, the link is in the description below again. Fill out the form. Here, I'll give you photography advice, I critique your best work, and just a fun chat with me basically. So get in that link in the description, get it down there. Anyway guys, that is it, and I'll see you next time.